the name, like Life and Valheim, something like that.
Valheim doll.
What?
Said Valheim doll. Code number. 218. Done. Title. I didn't. What? Valheim. Yeah. There you go.
Look at all the gases.
So many gases. Alright. If you're good with that, then I'll put the music on.
Da 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 da.
Is that what the opening theme sounds like?
Da 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 da.
That doesn't sound like our song.
It's the thing in the low bass area, because above that is that.
Hmm. The bass to me was always more. Da 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 da. Dum. Do 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 do.
Wait, I think that's something else.
Think so? We'll find out. This is the Player 4 Podcast. Join us each week as we talk about movies, video games, and pop culture, and break down the latest stories from our Dungeons & Dragons campaigns. Player 4 has entered the game. Hello and welcome to Player 4 Podcast. I am your host, Tristan, aka Chargrazier.
Long pause, and then it's me. I am Joseph, aka J Dunlap, and also Tristan. I was wrong. You were right. The theme doesn't do the da 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 until towards the end, and that's not the version we do for the podcast.
Yeah. Yes. That's the one.
Tristan, it's just you and me.
It's the Player 2 Podcast.
When's the last time that ever happened?
I mean, with just you and me or our Player 2 Podcast, because, like, you know... Papa!
Yeah, you and Alex did one recently, but I don't remember the last time it was just you and me. Ah! It popped up while I was mid-sentence.
We need dramatic music. We gotta get that dramatic gopher... Dramatic groundhog? Whatever the hell it is.
I think we need to play the Sephiroth theme. Darn it, darn it, darn it, darn it.
Sephiroth!
Malix Kai.
Malix Kai. Malix Kai.
Hey, it's a podcast.
It's our new music podcast that we do, where we just scat at the audience and they listen.
I mean, that is a thing that you do when podcasts are on, or you turn it off because you don't like the singing.
How could they not like the singing, Joseph? It's us.
I got nothing, Tristan.
Exactly. You're
I
like
was
a
gonna.
music guy, and I have these gilded pipes.
Yes, very gilded. Are they in the guild?
I mean, they're like second highest rank. Like, they're not the founder of the guild, but like, they've been there a while. Almost from the beginning.
All right, that's cool.
They go on raids still. Like, they're not that old.
Oh, that kind of guild. Okay. Hey, did you know that? Speaking of the guilds, did you know that my guild in WoW left me to go play Valheim?
You have mentioned that once or twice in our private talks. I'm sorry. What did you do in retaliation?
Well, we won't go there, but I did today buy Valheim because I figured it's about time I did that, and that's our first topic. I walked around Valheim punching trees for a little bit. Then I made a club and I clubbed trees,
Oh.
and my clubs broke, and they were in my inventory and they were broken.
So this is like a version of Minecraft where you're stuck with all the crap you don't want.
Yeah, I was curious why it was there. Maybe I'm just supposed to toss it. So I just held on to it. And then eventually I picked up some stones. And this was after a while. Like I was chasing a deer with a club and I was hungry and I was eating raspberries, which I guess is a wish fulfillment because I can't eat that. And eventually I found a river with some stones around it. I picked up the stones and it said, "Hey, you can make more things."
Well, there you go.
I was
New
like,
recipes
"Oh,
have been added to your Minecraft recipe book.
exactly." So then I was able to make a hammer that you use to make things.
Oh ho
Uh,
ho!
so I made a really bad house. And
You
also,
did all that with a hammer?
well, I also made an axe. And then I
Oh,
started felling trees that weren't too big. And the skill system is like that of RuneScape, actually,
oh my
where
god!
doing something levels up the skills. Not quite like Skyrim because there's no levels. It's just you level up the things.
You level up the things.
So yeah, then I was killing things with an axe. I was an axe murderer, but it was usually like these little nightmare things. I don't know what to call them. I forgot what they're called. They're like shadow somethings.
Oh,
And then I chopped down a bunch of trees,
okay.
and the trees fell on me.
Well,
That's a thing that happens.
did you die?
I took damage.
Oh, okay. Better
I
than
was talking
dying.
to a friend who said they did die.
Oh,
Uh, but one thing is that the trees, when they fall, could roll and knock over other trees
is
because the
that a
trees
good
just
thing or
have
a
hit
bad
point.
thing?
It's a good thing if you're just wanting to knock over a bunch at once because
Okay.
their status of being knocked over is relative to how many hit points they've lost.
I guess my question then is, if you chop down a tree and it rolls and knocks down another tree, do you get chopped down tree points for the other tree?
You don't get the points for it, but you get the wood.
Okay, well, I guess, half is better than nothing.
Right. It depends on whether you're just wanting to grind or if you're wanting the wood. So, and it's not even something I'm able to do intentionally just yet, but I've
I
been
mean,
told you can
I can tell you what I
fell.
do when I want the wood.
What?
We've all got different methods, Joseph. You knock down trees.
It's true. So then I made a really bad house. It was really big because what I discovered is two things. When you make a crafting bench, you have to have a roof over it to be able to use it, because that makes sense.
You have to have
Second
it over
thing,
it to make it to be able to use it, or to protect it from like the weather.
to use it,
Interesting.
you have to build a building around it and put a roof over it.
Hmm.
Anywhere where there's roof, you're considered sheltered. But if
Okay.
there's a hole in the roof and you're underneath that hole, you're no longer sheltered.
Interesting.
So you could just make a carport.
A lean
So
to.
I also discovered you can't terraform, at least to my knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to find level ground. And I started off finding a patch of level ground and I started building a house, and it wasn't going to be big enough, the space, to get over to the table. So I started smacking it with an axe, trying to break all the pieces. I discovered about an hour later that there's a button you can push to scrap something, much like Fallout 4,
Oh, would have been useful.
instead of smacking it with an axe.
I know
So
that you can terraform in Valheim because a friend showed me his thing and showed me how they had built up like a whole platform of stone and then built on top of that. So there's a
it,
way. I don't know what it is.
yeah, there's probably a way. I know that in order to get grass out of your floor of your house, you've got to have a hoe. I don't have one yet, and I don't know how to get one, so
Maybe
I'm
there's
still
like a
learning.
shovel or something.
Burgeoning axe murderer, Tristan. I don't know
Oh,
these things.
bludgeoning.
Bludgeoning too.
Yeah.
That's when the axe breaks and I switch to either fists or club.
I mean, yeah.
So that was my experience playing Valheim today.
Sounds like, um, it sounds like you learned a lot.
Yes, and I also discovered after breaking a whole bunch of axes, hammers, and clubs, the crafting table fixes them.
Oh, well, that's good to know.
I have a bunch of backups. I didn't have any choice, Tristan.
You needed to build backups because you didn't know how to fix them.
Oh, I needed to make the house in order to use the table.
Oh, yeah.
So it required that many tools.
Oh my gosh. Maybe now just throw out the broken ones.
Probably, but I also fixed them all. Then it said the crafting table will level up if there are house improvements. I'm like, look, this is as good as it's gonna get. What can I do to appease you? But it didn't answer.
Improve your house.
I don't know how.
You build more, I
I
guess.
guess I can section it off into rooms. That's pretty easy. But there is a campfire with a cooking spit over it, and
Okay.
there's a bed. And I slept in the bed, and it said I was rested and had a good dream about something Valheim related.
Something Valheim related.
Something about Nords and Pantheon. I don't know.
Okay, so the only thing I know about Valheim is that it's supposed to be like one of the like afterlife worlds of this, Norse-based game. So there's Niflheim, there's Valhalla. So Valhalla is the Hall of Valor. Valheim is like the land of valor, and so it's this place where the dead Norsemen go to make a new life basically and survive against monsters. That's why you have like Yggdrasil, the world tree, wherever you go. It's
That's
like
basically the when you make your world and it has the text that tells you about the game. That's basically what it says. That Odin needs warriors to help him with an evil that's going to come back, and so he's sending his Valkyries to go find fallen warriors on. Uh, I'm a bad
Midgard.
Marvel fan if I can't remember the name of Earth.
Midgard.
Midgard, yes, to grab fallen warriors and then take them to Valheim so they can be reborn and relearn all their skills and everything.
Mm. Yep.
So the idea is, if I hold something, then I remember how to make it. But the simple tools, it's just more like Minecraft, I guess. I don't really understand a lot. There's a bird that shows up sometimes, and I talk to it, and it tells me things.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's a bird. It's like a
Is
crow.
it a crow?
It is a crow.
You gotta hope that it's a crow, right? Or a raven.
Forsooth, nevermore.
No, what are their names? Oh, darn it, I usually know this. Hugin and Moonin. Hugin and Moonin are the crows the ravens, rather, that, roost on, Odin's shoulders. They're his ravens.
Oh, what's their name again?
Hugin, Huggin, and Moonin, Munin.
It might actually be them.
Yeah.
So I know at one point he's like, my brother's going to tell you this other thing. So then later on, there's a bird, and I talk to it, and it's the other one.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
So then I was
probably...
chasing a deer.
Did they tell you to stop chasing the deer?
No, I was chasing a deer with a club, and just like Skyrim, it's BS that animals have unlimited sprint because it's just not the way that the world works,
You run out of sprint and they get away.
which is not the way humans and animals function
Yeah,
at all.
right.
But I chased it into a forest after a while, and it was like, you've entered the dark forest or something like that. I'm like, nope. And I turned around and walked away. And then a bird kept showing up next to me going, hey.
Listen,
greetings,
watch
and stuff
out.
like that. And I was ignoring it.
Look.
It wanted to talk to me. And I just wanted to get back to where the stones were that I started at, because it was like, you're cold. And I'm like, well, maybe there's a fire there. I don't know. So I'm ignoring the bird, and he keeps showing up, standing next to me and saying a greeting. And finally I talked to him. He says, so you found the forest. Prove your worth and go kill the guy in the forest. And I'm like, no, I don't even have tools.
You just punch him in the big toe. It's fine.
I can punch pretty well now, Tristan.
Right? So you just punch him in the big toe. That's literally everyone's weakness.
Oh, also you level up running and jumping.
So it's more like Oblivion.
Yeah, so my jumping's okay, but my running is getting pretty good, Tristan.
There you go. I can remember my days, hours spent just doing laps around the Imperial City in Oblivion, jumping off of rocks and falling great distances. Because, of course, the farther you went on a jump, the more experience points into acrobatics you got. So if you jumped off of a rock that was on the edge of a hill or something and then fell the 40 feet down the hill, as long as you survived that fall, you got a big chunk of experience for acrobatics.
All I know about that is people make the crazy potions in those games, and then they're able to jump really high across the world and then die.
Yep, that was Morrowind. He died right in front of you. And then you get his jump thing, and then you can die.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. I mean, that was the first thing I did. I walked out of Balmora. I heard, ah, splat. I went over to see what it was. It was a dude splattered on the ground. I looted his body, because that's what you do. He had a scroll of big jump. I was like, I want a big jump. I used the scroll of big jump and took off. I'm like, sweet, I'm going straight to, I don't know where I'm going, but I'm getting there. And then I died. Because it's the scroll of big jump, not the scroll of big land.
Oh, you actually used it?
I did, because, no one's going to hand me a magic scroll that looks friggin' awesome and tell me not to use it.
Good job, Tristan.
I feel very accomplished and also very flat.
Last summer, when I was doing some Morrowind playthrough, I really just wasted most of my time flattering people to get my speech up.
Ah. Yeah, man. I guess at some point I need to jump back into Morrowind. I think I spent about 10 hours playing that game, and I started like 14 different quest lines and finished like 3 of them, because the way it tracks your quests is chronological, in that you started this quest, you found out this you started another quest and found out some information. Oh, you found out some new information that refers to that first quest, but we're going to put it over here on the other side, so it's all that second quest you got sandwiched in between. Have fun with that.
Gross.
Yeah, quest tracking in Morrowind is terrible, and I didn't get very far in that game because of it.
Well, that's all I had about Valheim. I'm going to try and figure it out. I've got a friend who's going to maybe invite me to a server, but I'm useless, so...
Cool. It's always nice when your friends might be friendly.
Well, I've been talking to this person, hey, let's play Valheim. I'll buy it. Let's play Valheim. And they're like, when I have time, and they're always playing.
That's a bad sign.
That's most of my friendships, I think. Not you guys, but...
That's sad.
It's cool. So we could talk about Valinaria, but wait, no, I guess I haven't been around since the last time we did Valinaria, so I guess we can talk about it.
Yeah, talk
No,
about
wait,
Valinaria.
that was even last week. So so last week we got the people to the village. So there was a lot of traveling along the river
and
then getting to the village.
YMCA, apparently.
YMCA?
Because they're the village people.
Oh, okay, good job.
Don't patronize me. I'm funny. I'm better than this job.
I don't need you guys. I don't know why it's saying 1 viewer. I'm here. It's weird.
1 viewer. Did you set yourself in offline mode, maybe? Maybe you're invisible.
No, there's no reason for that, but let's see if that fixes it. I clicked something. Anyway, so they travel along the river. There was a fight, and rather than stopping it, several people mediated to make sure there was no dirty fighting, even though one of them was getting bullied by the other. So that was interesting. because the one who was getting bullied was like crotch shot to get you off me, and then Rook was like, hey, 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 none of that.
I mean, look, it's what this character would do. I can't fault the player for doing that.
No, I agree with you that that is a thing that possibly Rook would have done. Although he's not a lawful character, so I'm not sure why he's so focused on the rules of the fight as opposed to wanting to understand why it was happening.
Mostly probably because it's less that he's embodying law and more that he's just embodying Chord, and Chord is about, uh, honorable combat. Like, glory can only be won in honorable combat, and if you're fighting dirty, then you're not actually winning glory. I think that's what he's focusing on. That's what
I'm
I'd be
looking up
focusing
Chord's
on.
alignment. Yes, he is chaotic.
Yeah. Chord is chaotic neutral.
So I felt like there still needed to be some part of the chaotic paladin who maybe wanted to know why the fight was happening, or when the guy said he was bullying me and I didn't want to be fighting, maybe don't go hard on him for doing a crotch shot. But anyway, I'm not going to tell people how to role play.
Yeah, no, I don't think there's anything wrong with the way he's playing that character. Again, like, Horde may be chaotic neutral, but, like, one of his main tenets is do not use your power for wanton violence and destruction. Which would be to do so would be very in line with most chaotic gods. So he's not your standard chaotic god.
I think you could make an argument either direction. Yes, a crotch shot isn't fair in a fair fight, but it wasn't initiated as such. But also bear in mind, my perspective is always going to be colored by the characters that I'm playing in the campaign. So, from
Hmm.
the perspective that an NPC, he was extremely confused and frustrated.
Yes, but I think that that's exactly what should happen when a fight breaks out and a person who is big, tough, and leader-like comes over and instead of breaking up the fight, tells you the right way to initiate honorable combat. It would be confusing to that person, and still
Yeah,
very much in line with a paladin of Chord. Very much. I thought that whole thing made a lot of sense. My
I thought
character,
it
of
was an
course,
interesting situation.
my character was, of course, incredibly frustrated by it, but my character's not a follower of Chord and thinks it's dumb.
There's an additional element of it, though. Cord is the patron deity for the character, but also he's a chaotic good paladin of freedom. So we'll find that balance, I hope.
Okay.
And anyway, so then they got to the village, and I'm not going to give away the entire story because I want people to go listen to it. All the millions of people who watch us.
There's so
Um,
many. I've lost count.
there's so many people watching us right now.
One of us. One
There
of
actually is a
us.
list. I'm not sure why there's a list. I think it's just lurker accounts that aren't even counting on our viewer count. Anyway, um, everyone got to the village, and then essentially after a whole bunch of hellos and goodbyes took place and checking on people, everyone opted to have a house all to themselves, and they essentially just parted in the frat house and had arm wrestling fights and drinking and dancing and whatnot, which I thought was a fun scene.
I think it's
And
always fun when we get to do little, very humanizing moments like that, where the characters just do something that has nothing to do with, like, combat or the mission they're on.
yeah, I like to give you guys the opportunity to do that. I don't always expect it or plan for it to go further. Oh, hold on.
What happened? I don't know where Joseph went. There must have been a issue nearby the computer. But yeah. think that all of you people who want to get into roleplay or are in role-playing games definitely, as players, look for those moments where you can just bring out some facet of your character's personality that doesn't have to do with what they do in combat, uh, or their personal relationship with a weapon. If you find yourself in a tavern or in a town, whatever, does your character, uh, you know, like to jape and jest with people? Do they go out of their way to meet new people and ask about a place, learn about the place you're in? Do they go out of their way to try and educate people about something they know that they don't think a lot of other people are aware of? You know, I think probably more stories than is necessary involve, the adventurers getting drunk and carousing at a bar, but maybe yours is the kind of character who has a social drink and opens up, about something more personal and not in a drunken stupor kind of way. Look at these very normal, natural settings and make use of them to kind of flesh out your character and humanize them to the other people in the game so that they want to interact. We've had several moments in Valheim Chronicles where, somebody will be talking about a particular experience they had, and another character will relate to it, unexpectedly. We found out that two or three, I think, of the characters, three of the characters at least, really didn't have parental figures in their lives for significant portions. And it has, shaped how they view and interact with the rest of the world. And that's not really something that you talk about a lot in public, so it was one of those, wow, you were an orphan too kind of thing. And so the player characters were able to, get a bit of bonding in over that and realize, maybe we've got a lot in common and should really be thinking about why it is we came together, kinds of things. Joseph, where'd you go?
I've been listening.
Oh, hi, Joseph.
A
Ow.
good vamp. Uh, died, and so it switched over to the corded earpiece.
I see.
The only reason is I'd been watching a stream, and before that, I had already been using it while playing Valheim.
I
So
don't.
yes, I agree with all those things, Tristan. And the thought I was in the middle of was, pretty tied to that, which is I give you as a group an opportunity to role play in character. I don't plan on it necessarily always happening, like catching the clue, but it typically does happen. And I set aside pretty much the entire session to just be role play, to be in situations and play them out. And there will be groups that just won't know what to do. They'll say, "Okay, well, I go to bed." And I was very pleased with how our group didn't do that. That they were in a situation, and their first thought was, "Okay, what's my character going to do in this situation?" And then play it out.
Uh-huh.
Going to visit multiple people in the village and having monk acolytes and a groupie fan group and all kinds of stuff.
Yep. I
So
mean,
then,
it's the difference between people who are invested in the world and trying to, have a character that improves things or changes things, and people who are just waiting for the next quest.
yeah, the next quest or even just the next scene, it's just like, okay, this scene happened. I can envision it. Let's move on instead of adding to it or developing it any further.
Yeah.
So from there, I'm not going to spoil too much. I will say that the group made some friends after they left the village. That's all I'm going to say. So if you were listening, go and check out that. I think it was episode 15 of Valheim Chronicles and find out about the fight that happened and the fun encounters that happened in the village and the frat house afterwards, and then after the carousing and everyone woke up, what friends did they make on their journey?
I made friends with a dog.
And I really enjoyed that. Well, yes, I enjoyed the role play that you guys did on the way back to Gamut. So I really didn't know what we were going to do. I just figured we were going to do something, whatever you guys wanted to do, and you guys remembered something and went with it. So it was really fun.
The world is what you make it, and if you're not making it more than what you were handed at the beginning, then why are you there?
I
Yours
won't kill
cannot.
stuff.
Yeah, yours can not only be to take. As a part of a role playing group, you are an equal share storyteller, and so you need to be giving back too, creating things for the DM and the other players to play off of and make stories with. And so that's what I'm always trying to do, looking for things that I can interact with and find more and deeper story within, or create a fun scene.
One thing I am prepared for, since our campaign is taking place in around the year 200 in the world, that we will be making our mark on the world as we go. Like, yes, I've done campaigns much longer later on, but they're essentially, for all intents and purposes, decanonized
Mhm.
because I want everything I do for P4 to be continuous, contiguous, whatever the word would be. And I'm not concerned about all this other stuff that I've done in the past with a group I don't even play with anymore.
All right.
So I am prepared to see all kinds of interesting ways that this group leaves their mark on the world, because I also, at some point, maybe want to do another campaign when this one has reached a logical ending point.
Further in the future, be able to look
Yeah,
back and see the effects of the players.
exactly. Even if it's just metagame stuff, like just geeking out over, oh, there's a statue of
Gas.
someone. Yeah, and it'd be Gaz, but there'd be
With
a
his
statue
stupid
of Gaz
floppy
in every
hat.
town with a different name and a different outfit.
That's actually pretty good. Yeah.
So hundreds of years later, they're like, yeah, pretty much every town has a statue of an elf for some reason.
It's a different elf everywhere you go.
Yeah, I guess
Apparently,
elves were
elves were
big
really
then.
popular at one point.
Yeah, there's a lot of elves. Just all this whole region is just covered in elves. There's so many elves. They all kind of look the same.
Well, there is a reminiscence of the face.
Like Genghis Khan.
Oh goodness. Yeah, I'm hoping it will shape up to be an interesting story. We certainly have an interesting cast.
Yes, I'm really, really taking my time with slow burning the development of the cast, because I know it's going to pay off in the long run. Like, I know there's plenty of fun stories we can tell as we go, and we're not quite there yet, but I feel like we're doing a good job developing the group first.
Yeah, it's definitely important to have ties. The characters need to have a reason to be with each other. The characters should know each other, on some level. And ideally on some level deeper than the general public could, would, or should know them. There's a reason to trust. There's a reason to rely on these people around you. And that's something that I've
Hmm.
long been struggling to build in ELR, just because the characters themselves are very solitary. They don't share with the group a lot. And so they know that they're all here, they know that they're all the best people for the job, and the job is, save the world. But, like, sometimes it can be like pulling teeth trying to get them to humanize each other and relate to each other. We've had some really awesome moments. It's not to say we haven't had any. Some of my favorites are the warlock changing patrons because they realized that the person they were getting their powers from was an evil fiend, and they had this slow burn story of building a relationship with a spirit trapped in their armor that turned out to be a fae that had been placed there long ago. They released it and formed a pact with it. So that was cool and developmental and very intriguing to me. A new character relationship growing there. Another good one was the rogue assassin, his past coming back to haunt him and the party when a young person came and challenged him to a duel to the death for the honor of his parents, who the assassin had killed several years earlier. And that was a very emotionally charged scene as the rogue entered the ring with this Battlemaster fighter that proceeded to kick the daylights out of him. Like, the rogue didn't stand a chance against this guy. And refused to fight him, and the fighter was just crushed by the fact that he wanted to face and destroy the monster that had ruined his life, and what he'd found was just a man, and not even a man who held the same beliefs as the monster he had been chasing all those years. It just wasn't the victory he wanted. And so that was a really interesting and very emotionally charged scene.
I like when a character gets what they think they want and it's not what they want. I don't go set out to do that, but I like that in the story when that happens.
Mm. Yeah, and that's definitely a good way of describing that scene. Like, he got his fight with Vendar, but it didn't turn out to be what he wanted, and at the end of it, he had to face the reality that he was never going to get exactly what he wanted, no matter how much he struggled for it. In his words, the monster that he wanted to destroy was already gone.
Yes, those are the best revenge stories. Now, I am of the opinion that if he tries sometimes, he'll get what he needs.
Mm. They were, they had to, there was a bit of conversation about that, like how is he supposed to go on living without having gotten his revenge, and the party offered their insights on how even if he'd succeeded in getting his revenge, he wouldn't really be satisfied, and trying to convince a kid of that. It was interesting.
Has he ever considered piracy?
My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. I actually had based the kid off of Inigo Montoya.
That's good. I like it.
When I first wrote my notes for him, I had named him parenthetically Inigo Montoya because I hadn't come up with a name for him yet. So in my notes, you just see, like, this character, parenthesis, Inigo Montoya.
Mandy Patinkin.
Mandy Patinkin. Great actor.
So I have one more note about Valinaria, since we were talking about interaction, world development, all of that, that I think that my approach has become threefold for what's still, I guess, chapter 1 of our campaign. Like, we had our prologue, and I think we're in chapter 1 now. And my approach has been threefold. It's been, who are the characters, and what's their relationships, what's the world like, and why does what they're going to do in the future matter? So,
Okay.
what's the world like and what are its problems is part of it.
Yeah.
So who are the characters? What's the world, and what are the problems that they can find in that world? And then that all establishes why the rest of the campaign is going to matter in the first place.
Right. Exactly. And that's another a good point. Is just that as a DM, at least I have found that it really helps to be just thinking in the present. Like the future, you want to know where your some ideas of where your story might lead. You want some eyes to the future. Maybe you've got, more insight into the future than other people. I don't find it's terribly important to know the exact end point. You can have kind of I'd like it if it ended in this kind of way. Like, I would like it if my campaign ended with my players fighting the dragons and then becoming the heroes of the world by defeating these dragons in a big epic battle. I don't know if they'll get there. I don't know if that's the way they'll end up going. Maybe they'll find another solution that won't result in a big epic battle. I don't know. But it's good to think in terms of the present. What are the current problems? And have a couple current problems lined up so that your players can decide which ones they want to deal with. And which ones they deal with are going to help define who they are.
No, yeah, exactly. I have certain historical events that could or could not happen during this generation. But overall, like, our current plot has nothing to do with me at all. It's you guys want to get to Averin so you can get paid doing work. That's not anything I have any control over, but I do have certain events through the course of the campaign that I can bring in as a way to get the story going if it's needed.
Yeah.
Now, I am aware of certain aspects of the setting as it exists at this exact moment in the campaign. Um, Wars that had happened in the past, and different issues in different areas. So that's going to make things interesting because going there is going to ultimately be the decision of the players, but I have an idea of what challenges they will face when they get there, even if it's not what they were going there for. Like, bottle episodes or monster of the week episodes of a show. You don't go there to fight the big furry monster, but once you get there, you discover that's what you're going to have to do.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Uh,
I'm having a good time with it. I want to tell this big epic story, but I'm taking my time intentionally
yeah.
at this point.
Um, Kind of in that same vein, a strategy I have found very useful is that even once the players have decided on a course and you have an idea of where that's going to end them up, remember that it's the journey and not the destination that matters. So what I will do once the players have said, here's where we're going to go, this is what we're going to do, I can say, well, here's where they are, here's where they're going. I have all this physical space and the time that is represented by that physical space to fill. And I can either say, okay, you travel for 3 days and you're there, or I can make that more interesting and say, this is the kind of area they're in, these are the kind of problems that area is going to have. How can I make this the journey? They'll have to deal with, like, my players are in the Underdark, so it's kind of very straightforward. They already have to be careful and sneaky to get around, otherwise horrible monsters and angry drow will come and find them and kill them, so they already have those problems. But I can still look at it and say, what kind of interesting denizens of this area can I have here, and what scenarios can be set up around that?
Yeah, I agree. I'm not a fan of if the DM just says, okay, 3 days pass and you're there, unless it's an area that's just been so heavily traveled. They're like, there's rocks and there's trees
Yeah.
and nothing else.
Well, something that I tend to try to keep in mind is what I was told a long time ago about D&D. Well, or at least when thinking in terms of D&D, and that is, you're kind of imagining a world wherein, why are there walled cities? Why are there, trained soldiers and armies? Why are there adventurers besides that? And you look at the kind of the normal adventure hooks and go, but why is that kind of thing important? If you look at even the Forgotten Realms, or take the Sword Coast for instance, since that's so well written, uh, and I mean prolifically written right about now. Everybody knows the Sword Coast in the Forgotten Realms. One of your standard base, first quests for starting characters is going to be escorting a merchant caravan. Why is that important? It's because the same reason you have walled cities. Because in between those walled cities, you have these roads over open land or forest or mountains that are either dangerous environmentally or dangerous because they are flushed with monsters or bandits. There are threats out there. That's why the cities have walls and the walled cities have armies, because there are threats naturally out in the world. Even if you have a well-traveled road, that well-traveled road can be constantly patrolled by soldiers that keeps it safe, or every caravan or merchant individual that travels on that road is going to need protection. And that can be, you can still have a well-traveled road that requires constant vigilance and protection. So that's something that I try to keep in mind, is it's like, yeah, there are going to be areas where it might be safe to wander around, and you're not going to run into too much, but a lot of these areas, especially once you get a little further from the cities, they're going to have wild animals, or bandits, or something. They're just... The whole idea behind this medieval fantasy is that most of the world isn't safe. And that's...
I had a character die to a wolf.
We almost did that.
Yeah, well, that was a different situation. This was a situation where I don't think there should have been a character dying to a wolf in that situation. The entire group was there,
Did they not help
but
you?
we still had a way to avoid the death, just like we did with you and Derek. And the situation was that they managed to work out a deal with a local church in the place they were going to bring him back.
I see.
They owed that church a favor, but I'm not exactly sure. Um, I don't think in game they ever actually cashed in that favor, but I'm sure that out of game it was implied that at some point they cashed in that favor.
Okay.
But I do know that there was a situation in that campaign not that long afterward where not only was a player character dead, but also an NPC.
Yeah.
So the church in that given city brought back both of them, and the first time was they resurrected the cleric, and then the cleric said, "Okay, since you did that for me, I will work this many years for you." Then they discovered in order to continue with the story, they had to bring back a dead NPC who had been on the ship with them. And then the cleric went to the church and said, "We need your help again. I guess I'm adding to my indentured time."
I see.
Because they weren't high level characters, they were level 3 or
Right. They
4.
don't have the money for resurrections at that point. Um, I guess as a storyteller, my question to that DM would have been, why doesn't this church cash in this favor immediately in the form of a quest that can help guide the players, or not so much even say help guide the players. They have indebted themselves, so now they don't have a choice really. They've put themselves on this path.
There was multiple reasons why at that given point it couldn't happen. One of them being that they were in the middle of a quest that they couldn't deviate from because the fate of their region depended on it.
Mm-hmm.
They had to go find an important person who had already left on a voyage
Right.
far, far north.
But why not?
Um,
Why not have both things as something to worry about? Like that kind of a 'cause now I'm getting into story structure, and it is...
it's a valid question. It
Mhm.
didn't happen, but it could have.
Yeah. I definitely
Uh,
feel like I've benefited as a DM and storyteller by giving my players multiple things they need to be concerned about doing at the same time, and benefited from planning to have them somewhat overlap so that the players can feel like they're making progress on both at the same time for portions of it.
Overall, the campaign was pretty well structured for that. There were a lot of stop doing that, Sarah. There were a lot of various threads going on because the story was there was people attending a school for adventurers,
Mm-hmm.
and it was every year was a level, and every year there was some sort of overarching story that they were dealing with off to the side, and there might even be a thread for a future one, but there was an overarching story over those 4 years as well that everything sort of tied to in some way or another. So we had a story that resulted in a turned paladin, and there was a story that resulted in well, avoiding anarchy. So those two stories ended up coming to fruition by the time they've reached their 4th year, and that was the part one of the campaign. Part two being getting the gang back together at a higher level.
Gang's all here.
Yeah, and that was a fun one because I got to pull back all those threads that we had done. They got to see the results of some of the things that they had worked to achieve. They had to deal with a growing threat that they thought that they had contained, and they got to deal with the fallen paladin. And all of that came together in a climactic end to the campaign.
Yeah, it definitely always pays off to bring back up stuff the characters, the players themselves have done before. I've never regretted doing storylines that paid off. That said, hey, remember when you did this? Now this is going on because of it.
It's a campaign I wouldn't mind revisiting and just completely reworking entirely, but having some of the same threads there. It was pretty well. So it was my first long term campaign. I
Mm-hmm.
had done one that lasted a few months, and then there was a break, and then my son was born, and then we started a new one, and that was the first one that I had done that actually got to go from beginning to end. And I was still kind of young, but I enjoyed it a lot. It's something I would like to go back and redo, just do again, and just rethink the entire concept of it because it was pretty good.
Yeah.
That's why I'm not giving you any spoilers about big things that happened.
I'm aware.
You never
I'm
know.
yeah. I'm kind of excited. Like this one, ELR has been a long-term campaign. It's kind of one of those, it's just part of life now. And so the idea of building toward the end and concluding the campaign is scary because it's like, wait, this is just the time that we all hang out together. We want to keep doing that. How are you supposed to end that? And why would you want to? But, as my friend always tells me, if a story doesn't end, then it doesn't have a meaning. Um, and so I'm starting to build toward I guess what I'll call the home stretch. They're heading into the home stretch on this one, where they will soon kind of be able to see the end from where they are and know that their path is more linear than it's been before. But they do have an interesting uh, divergence coming up in this next session, where I introduced an NPC in this last session who gave them some new information that does not pertain to their main quest, but is physically adjacent. And so now they will be deciding if they're going to take some extra time to deal with this other short storyline, or carry on with their mission and hope that the other one goes well without them. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. Because if they choose to go and see it through to make sure that it goes well, not without them, then they're putting their own mission at risk.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, those kinds of things are interesting. The players need to weigh what they're doing and decide what they want to do.
So we have another topic now that we've finished our short podcast
Yeah,
of
very
54
short.
minutes. And I wanted to know about your House Hunters stories.
So, I'm continuing to look at places. My agent is sending me links to places all the time, and they're nice. They are. But so far, none of them has drawn my eye away from one of the first 6 places I looked at. That we went there. It's a new construction. The builders are the ones selling it. You know, they're their own agent kind of thing, and they've put this price on it. And I said, well, that's too high for what this place is. We waited a few days. It didn't sell. Things in Boston tend to sell really fast, and it didn't sell. So I sent them an offer, and they rejected it. And so I sent them a slightly higher offer, and they rejected it again. And then they went and they had an open house, and now it's, 4 days since that open house, 5 days since that open house, and they still haven't had any new offers besides mine. So I told my agent, look, we're gonna sweat them out on this one. They are going to need to sell at some point because they're going to be losing too much money holding on to the property. And so I'm going to keep making the offers that I believe the place is worth. And, I'm running the risk that somebody else will outbid me, but I have some confidence that that's not going to happen just because what they're asking is way too high for where it is. So I'm crossing my fingers that I'm playing this game, that they'll come down to meet me where I think the place is more accurately valued. So that's the cat and mouse game that I'm involved in right now.
Yeah, we definitely didn't offer exactly what was being asked on our house either. I mean, you're not supposed to anyway, but
Yeah.
we definitely offered closer to what we felt like it was worth.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's funny. What you probably went through is you offered a number, they offered a higher number that was lower than what they were asking, and then you came to an agreement by haggling, right?
Yeah, they didn't go too high either. We're like, yeah, that sounds good to us.
Okay, yeah, no, this was, I made them an offer, their counter offer was the list price. I came back and made them a higher offer, and they countered at the list price again. So they weren't budging at all. And so I said, okay, forget you. You don't understand the value of your property. And, if it sells to somebody else, then I was wrong, and you did understand the value of your property. But if it's still up there, in 2 weeks, then you clearly did not understand the value of your property, and you're going to have to come down. So I'm just waiting for them to realize that. Thinking I'll make another offer on it this weekend, and see if we can break them.
Fingers crossed, Tristan.
Yeah. So, and this is also the first property I've ever tried to buy, so this is mostly a whole new experience for me. My only shining star in all of this is that my mother was a real estate agent in New York for many years before I went to college in Massachusetts. So I've at least vicariously got a little bit of understanding about how the game is played.
Again, fingers crossed. I really hope that you get a permanent place because it's about time.
Yeah, no, it'd be nice to actually have a guest room to put, a guest in. Right now,
Well,
I've had visitors once and they had to sleep in my bed. I slept on the couch.
I mean, some couches are super comfy. Mine is. I sleep on it probably too regularly because I like it so much.
Oh, I sleep on my couch a lot.
Plus, there's dog feet in my back when I'm in the bed.
Well, see, I mean, personal opinion, but mistake was getting a dog. I love animals, but I will never own one.
It wasn't me, Tristan. It was the person who might be able to hear me right now.
It was the kids?
Oh yeah, totally, yeah.
I knew it.
They went by themselves to the shelter and got a dog.
I mean, dogs are cute.
The kids drove and everything.
I knew it. You can't
It
trust
totally
kids these
wasn't
days.
Gina who said, "Can I have a dog?" And I said no.
Now you get a dog, and it's a cute dog.
She's cute. And then she stands next to me and goes, while I'm trying to play on the computer. What do you want? Sometimes she wants to go outside to go potty and whatever. But usually she's trying to get me to get off the computer and lay on the couch so she can sleep on me.
Well, have one of the kids do it. That's what the kids are for, right?
Well, it's usually in the afternoon, like right after lunch, before I have to go back to school. And I'll lay on the couch and let her sleep on me for a little bit.
Well, it sounds like you're enjoying that.
Well, it depends. If she actually lays on me, that's fine. But if she lays on just my legs, they fall asleep.
It's so hard having an animal that loves you.
It's the worst, Tristan.
I know. You poor
I hate it
baby.
so much.
You know, at least I'm guessing, because I've not heard about it, that your animals don't have, like, a lot of medical issues. Because that is the worst.
The only one we're aware of is that my cat, the big half Maine Coon, has a flea allergy.
It's allergic to fleas.
Yes, and
Well, as long as it doesn't get fleas, which it sounds like is a big problem in itself, fine.
well, there was a period of time in the apartment we just moved out of where fleas in the grass outside our apartment was kind of a problem. It was a short-lived problem, but during that time, we discovered our cat had the issue because she was constantly scratching and had like little scabs and stuff, and we couldn't figure out why.
Oh. Yeah, no. Can't deal with parasites and excretions. Parasites and
So
excretions.
don't have kids.
I won't
Heyo.
have kids or pets.
Well, that said, I think it's time to flip out of here.
Alright, let's get the flip out.
Get the flip out. Am I caboose or you caboose?
You, because I've got hashtag goodbye.
Goodbye.
Perfect.
I have an idea.
Nobody cares.
I have an idea.
We heard you.
It's not a very good caboose.
Alright. Am I raiding or am I ending the stream?
We probably can raid. Let me check and see who's on.
Alright. Because, yeah, I checked the users list, the users in chat list, and there are a bunch of names in there, but the watchers number is still only one, so I don't know what all that means. I don't know how that works.
Looks like we can raid Randy if you want. Sociopath_Randy.
Okay, let me try this. Raid Sociopath_Randy. Boom. Cool. I'm glad it's not case sensitive.
Yeah, that's a great thing about usernames. Michael's always like, is the username capitalized on his usernames? And I'm like, nope, it's only passwords.
Alright, and now I can end the stream.